Good morning, everyone. Mark Thompson, Watermark Data, and you're back with Alteryx tutorials. Today we're doing challenge number 15. It's again a fundamental, and as you read the description here, what it is you've got 3 warehouses, and you have, believe, 26 different stores, and you have 10 items, and the objective is to find out the total distance traveled straight line for each item based on it being shipped from the closest warehouse. Based on it being shipped from the closest warehouse to each store. So with that as the backdrop, we're going to try and figure out effectively what's going to be the shortest distance to be able to get the products to the stores. All right, looking at this, again, I have already completed the challenge for you, and we're going to be simply walking through how to do this. In this, you've got 3 sections here. I did it with combined data, organized data, do some calculations, and of course the output. Inputs. In this first one, you've got all of these different stores. You've got 26 different stores, and they go in priority, and they've got the city, state, and then they've got the longitude and the latitude. Here, it's the store, and it's the item, and how many it's required, and how many have been assigned, right? How many have been assigned to each store? So all of this, you've got 26 stores, and not every single store is going to need every single item, so be aware of that. And then lastly, the location of the 3 warehouses, where you've got the name of it, the city, the state, the lat, and the long. So the very first thing I do is I take and I pull out of the spatial and I grab the create points. This creates a geographic point. So you put in the long and the lat, and I do the same thing here. I take the long and the lat, and I create a point on a map. So if I were to run this real quick, just to show you what it does. So it takes those longs and those lats, and this is a browse tool, so you can see. And I put this on there. I don't need it, but I put it on here for the tutorial. And each one of these little boxes represents a store. And I could do the same thing with this, and it would tell me where the 3 are, the 3 warehouses. And so the first thing that I'm going to do, actually I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that since I no longer need it. I'm going to join these 2 together, and I'm going to say what's the store and what's the store, right? Store A, B, C through Z, and store A, B, C through Z. And now I no longer really need the store name, the string, the state. I don't need the long, the lat, and it required in the priority. I don't need those pieces of information, right? And so what I come out with when I join this is I've got a store, and I've got the item, and I've got how many got assigned to it, and I've got the geographic point for this. Down here, I am doing the same, and once I get my geographic point, I no longer need the city, the state, the lat, and the long. This tool is called an append tool. So what I am doing is I am appending the information for these 3 warehouses to every single one of these records. So I have 215 records here. And so if I'm appending 215 records, and I'm doing that to every single one of them, it comes out the other side at 3 times 215. So I now have 645 records. Whereas you see my store, my item, and the assigned, and the geographic geolocation point, the centroid for that. And then the warehouse, the main, the second, and the third. For store A, item 1, store A, item 2. Another way to look at this, and I put this sort in here strictly for the tutorial because maybe it gives a better picture. And so out the other side of this, store A, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 10. So if you see this, store A didn't have item 9. And all of these mains. So if I got down here to the end of the main, I'm going to end up with, ta-da, 215. Then I take and I cross-tab the data. That merely means I kind of flip it. So instead of having long columns, you can see this kind of tall, and it turns an arrow into, it turns it sideways. So now I'm back to my 215 records, and I have a point for the store, but I have a point for the main deep warehouse, the second warehouse, and the third warehouse. Then all I do is I come over here and I do some calculations. And this tool is, by the way, this crosstab tool can be found here in the transform crosstab. And then I come over here and I do some calculations. And again, I can find this in the spatial. And it's the distance. And in what I am doing the distance of is the store point to main. And when a point is inside the polygon, I return a distance of 0. I'm doing it in miles. So I'm figuring out the distance once, twice, and 3 times. So I'm figuring out the distance in miles between, in this case, the store and the main. Same thing, the store and the second. And now the store and the third point. So by the time I get down here, you see I've got the distance in miles, I've got the distance in miles 2, and distance in miles 3. I then take and throw on a formula tool, find that in the prep menu, and I say, okay, of these things, I'm calling it min distance, assigned times the minimum, open paren, and then it's, what am I getting the minimum distance of? The distance from the first one, the second one, and the third. So I'm getting the minimum for that, of those 3. So I've got the minimum of those. And then if you look over here, you see 4,000, the min distance, which is not just the distance in miles, but the distance in times the number of assigned. So you've got 7 assigned times the min distance, which in this case, if you take a look, that's going to be 5 times 572. And 7 times 572 comes out to 4,000. We then summarize that and say, okay, so what is the minimum distance that we want for these items? And boom, there you go. For your 10 items, this is the minimum distance traveled per item to get it to the store from the closest warehouse location. And then we simply put it to an output here. And yes, we could certainly mess around with doing formatting and other things like this to make this, give this a comment, stuff like that. But really, this gets us our answer right here. All right, I hope that's helpful. Again, I'm Mark Thompson with Watermark Data. This has been Alteryx Tutorials, challenge number 15, fundamentals, using some distance points, reorganizing it, getting some distance, minimizing it, summarizing it, and an output. If you like what you see, hit subscribe, share with your friends, give me a like. If there's things you don't like about these videos, by all means, please let me know. I always want to improve these. I only started doing them this week, so I'm sure they can get better. We'll see you on the next one.